Degree, Slim Fast, and Breyers, brands you trust every day. But behind them is Unilever, a company tied to toxic waste, chemical recalls, and quiet legal settlements. While you're lathering up or making lunch, they're making billions, often in silence. The products feel safe, the packaging looks clean, but the truth behind the company? Not so much. And once you learn what they've done, you'll never look at your bathroom or fridge the same way again. Unilever didn't start as one company. It was created by merging two powerful European businesses, the Lever brothers from the United Kingdom and Jurgens and Van den Berg from the Netherlands. These companies weren't trying to help people, they were trying to dominate markets. In the late 1800s, real butter was expensive and hard to store, so Jurgens and Van den Berg created margarine, a cheap butter substitute made from processed oils. It was sold as a smart alternative, but it was mostly about cutting costs and increasing profits. At the same time, the Lever brothers were making soap in England, but instead of using animal fat, like most soaps back then, they used palm oil from colonies in Africa. Palm oil was cheaper and more available because it was taken through colonial control. The Lever brothers were marketing experts. They didn't just say their soap cleaned your skin, they claimed it made you a moral person. Their ads told women they weren't good wives or mothers unless they used it.
On the day Jesse's dog won a blue ribbon, the family celebrated with a barbecue. There were hot dogs, and blueberry pie, and lemon fresh sunlight.
It was guilt-based marketing, and it worked. This early success had nothing to do with health. It had everything to do with control. They created habits people couldn't break, and in 1930, these two companies joined forces. That's when everything changed. Not just for them, but for the world. In 1930, the Lever brothers and the margarine companies Jurgens and Van den Berg merged to form a single company, Unilever. This wasn't just a business deal, it was the birth of a global giant. By combining forces, they didn't just get bigger, they gained control. Unilever now had a massive grip on the world's supply of oils and fats. These were the key ingredients in soap, food, and beauty products. If you used it or ate it, they probably made it. This gave Unilever huge power over what people bought and what they believed they needed. They didn't just sell products, they shaped desires. They told people what to fear, then sold the solution. Many experts now believe this wasn't just about growing a company. It was about eliminating the competition. Smaller businesses couldn't compete with Unilever's size, speed, and money. They were pushed out or bought up. With fewer companies in the market, Unilever didn't have to play fair. They could raise prices, cut corners, or flood the shelves with products people didn't actually need. Unilever became a global machine, fueled by palm oil, cheap labor, and endless advertising. And as the decades passed, they didn't slow down. They expanded into every room of your home. Soon, they wouldn't just be shaping markets, they'd be shaping your body. By the 1950s, Unilever was no longer just a soap and margarine company. It had expanded into almost every corner of daily life: food, skincare, laundry, baby products, and even pregnancy tests. If it touched your body or entered your home, there was a good chance it had Unilever's name behind it. But they weren't just selling products. They were selling problems and then offering the cure. This strategy is called the problem-solution loop. First, they made people feel like something was wrong. Your skin is too dry, your house isn't clean enough, your body isn't attractive. Then they sold the fix.
Are you ready to be pimple-free? Pimples? Soap lang ang gamit ko. To fight pimples, use Pond's Acne Clear White with scrub beads.
Unilever's ads showed perfect people with perfect lives, all thanks to their products. It was powerful marketing, and it worked. Millions of people began to trust these brands without question, but many of their solutions were made with cheap synthetic ingredients. They used seed oils and artificial chemicals linked to health problems like acne, weight gain, and hormone imbalance. These issues weren't common before, but as Unilever's reach grew, so did these conditions. Was it just a coincidence? Or were these products creating new problems to keep people buying? Unilever didn't just shape shopping habits. They shaped bodies, behaviors, and beliefs. And in one part of the world, that influence may have cost people their lives. In 2007, something terrible happened on a Unilever-owned tea plantation in Kenya. During a time of political unrest, violence broke out in the area. Workers begged the company for help and security. They knew danger was coming, but when it finally hit, only the top managers were airlifted out to safety. The rest were left behind. 11 workers were murdered. Many others were attacked. Survivors said the company could have done more, but chose not to. Some believe Unilever knew the risks and made a decision. Save the executives, leave the workers. The story didn't end there.
A BBC investigation has uncovered widespread sexual abuse on tea farms.
In the years that followed, more reports came out. Female workers said they were being harassed and abused by supervisors.
A BBC investigation has uncovered widespread sexual abuse on tea farms.
They said their complaints were ignored or covered up.
It's torture. He wants to sleep with you, then you get a job.
When you say no, he forces himself on you, wanting to touch you.
No one was fired. No justice was served. These workers weren't just employees. They were the people who picked the tea, packaged the product, and made Unilever's profits possible. But they were treated like they didn't matter. Unilever denied responsibility. They blamed the violence on outside forces. But the pattern was clear. Protect the brand, not the people. This wasn't a random tragedy. It looked like a system where human lives were secondary to business. And what happened next, in another part of the world, would show just how far that pattern could go. In the early 2000s, Unilever ran a thermometer factory in Kodaikanal, India. It was supposed to bring jobs and opportunity. But what it brought instead was poison. The factory used mercury, a toxic metal that can damage the brain, kidneys, and nervous system. Workers handled it with little to no protection. They weren't warned about the risks. Over time, many of them got sick, some died. When people started asking questions,
you're going to be taking responsibility as a responsible multinational organization.
I would not like to comment on this now.
You're not commenting.
You're not commenting anything. I'm not authorized to speak to you now. Can you please?
Unilever shut the factory down. But instead of cleaning up, they left the mercury waste behind, dumped in forests and near schools. Years later, tests showed the soil still contained mercury levels 250 times higher than what's considered safe. Locals began reporting cancer, birth defects, and neurological problems. Protests grew. Doctors raised alarms. Families demanded answers. Unilever refused to take responsibility for years. They finally paid a settlement, but admitted no fault. The mercury remained in the soil, and the pain remained in the community. People began to wonder, if Unilever could leave behind something this dangerous, what else have they hidden? How many other communities have been poisoned and forgotten? This wasn't just a factory accident, it was a warning. Because if Unilever could leave behind mercury and death, what are they leaving behind in your own home? In 2022, Unilever recalled several of its most popular dry shampoos. The reason? They contained benzene, a chemical linked to cancer. These weren't unknown products. They were household names: Dove, Suave, Nexus, Tresemme. Millions of people had been spraying them directly on their skin, sometimes for years. But this wasn't the first time Unilever's products were questioned. For years, scientists have found harmful ingredients in everyday items like body wash, deodorant, and lotion. Products many people use without even thinking. Some of these ingredients include BHA, a possible cancer-causing agent, octinoxate, a hormone disruptor, and synthetic fragrances, which can contain dozens of undisclosed chemicals. These substances don't just rinse off. Your skin absorbs them. Over time, they build up in your body. They can affect your hormones, lower sperm count, mess with your thyroid, and even cause long-term health issues doctors are still trying to understand. What's worse, many of these ingredients are banned in countries like those in the European Union, but in the United States they're still allowed. Unilever changes its formulas depending on where the product is sold. So ask yourself, why are Americans given the more dangerous version? Because when profit matters more than people, your daily routine might be slowly turning into a health risk. We all want to feel clean, safe, and healthy. That's what brands like Dove, Axe, and Vaseline promise. But what if those promises are hiding something darker? Unilever sells products all over the world, but not every country gets the same formula. In places like the US, laws are weaker. Ingredients that are banned in Europe are still used in American versions. That means US consumers may be exposed to harsher, more dangerous chemicals, just because companies can get away with it. Some of these chemicals are now linked to real health problems. Studies show connections to infertility, early puberty, low testosterone, and thyroid disorders. Doctors are seeing more hormone-related issues in younger people than ever before. Many of us trust labels like natural, clean, or gentle, but those words don't always mean what we think. There's little government oversight, and companies can use them freely, even if the product contains risky ingredients.
Extensive recall of dry shampoos. Unilever is voluntarily pulling 19 of the products from popular drugstore brands.
Unilever says it follows the law, but following the law isn't the same as protecting your health. Sometimes it just means protecting their profit. If the health of future generations is quietly changing, and these same products are found in nearly every home, we have to ask, are these side effects, or were they part of the business plan all along? With all the health issues, lawsuits, and dangerous chemicals tied to Unilever, you might wonder, why hasn't anyone shut them down? The answer is simple. They're too big. Unilever operates in over 190 countries. They make products that people use every day. Soap, shampoo, food, lotion, deodorant. Their brands are trusted. Their commercials feel safe. And their money talks. When Unilever faces lawsuits, many don't go to court. Victims often settle quietly. Some are forced to sign NDAs or non-disclosure agreements, which legally prevent them from talking. Others walk away with nothing. Governments are slow to act. Why? Because Unilever brings jobs, trade, and money to every country it touches. Politicians don't want to challenge that. Regulators don't want to lose that. So most problems are ignored or buried. Meanwhile, consumers keep buying. Most people trust what's on the shelf. If it looks clean and smells fresh,